Hello from your favorite Grasslands PR team. This week we're back with another reason why these overlooked and underappreciated ecosystems are objectively the best biome. Spooky edition?
Yes.
Like we promised last time? I'm Rachel.
I'm Nicole. And today we are talking about something spooky. It's like a gentle spooky, kind of easing you into the spookiness. Rachel, what plant has no leaves, no roots, and yet can take over a grassland with ease?
Dodder!
Hey!
Oh, it is a dodder episode?
Yeah, it's dodder, yeah.
Oh,
I love
dodder! Yeah, vampiric plants. I love it.
Yes.
Also known as, I think, witches' shoelaces or shoestrings?
Yes, it has a bunch of different common names. Wizard's net, devil guts, strangled hair, witch's hair. It has a lot of very good common names.
Those are very good Halloween names, and it's a very good Halloween color. Like, when plants go vampiric, they don't always turn white. Sometimes they're like orange.
Yes.
They're just not green, and that's what makes them fun. Cool.
Dodder. Vampiric plant, as Rachel said. So the vampire apocalypse, it's finally upon us. It's in the form of plants. Who would have guessed?
Sorry, is the vampire apocalypse a known phenomenon? Or
You're the one that brought it up.
Well, of all the apocalypse that could happen, apocalypse?
What?
Apocalypses. That is not one that was on my radar.
Well, you're the one that brought it up.
Oh, I did, because of the stupid grasshopper episode.
Yeah.
God, the vampire apocalypse. Did I mention that we've been playing a Curse of Strahd campaign with our D&D group? Yeah, anyway.
Yeah, it's pretty great.
Uh,
But turns out it's not human vampires, it's plant vampires, and they're not actually going to destroy the world, don't worry. But they are really, really cool.
They might destroy a prairie.
Yeah, they might destroy a prairie. Who knows? But dodder can be found, like, all over the world. Usually it's bright orange, yellow, really fun colors. But it's just a really fascinating plant, and I love the interactions that it has with its hosts. So when I say that it's vampiric, I really mean that it's parasitic. Basically the same thing. Because grasslands can be a very competitive environment for plants. You and all of your neighbors are competing for space, light, nutrients, all that fun stuff. Grasses grow fast and tall to shade out wildflowers. Wildflowers bush out to shade out the grass. So it is highly competitive. There is not a lot of space to go around. But parasitic plants love to cheat to get ahead.
Tell me more about how they cheat. What do you mean cheating? Wait, hang on. Are we saying there's like a standard set of rules for how they need to adhere to the grassland plant community? Like, is there like a grassland HOA that's saying, no, if you vampirize your neighbors, you're a cheater? Like, why is this an invalid strategy? That's all I'm saying.
It's not invalid. It's just different. So I'm sorry I called it cheating.
Thank you.
They have a very unique way of getting ahead. Is that better?
Yes, that is better.
Okay.
Thank you.
But though we very rarely talk about, I keep wanting to say vampiric plants, though we very rarely talk about parasitic plants, they're everywhere. It's not a super rare phenomenon, but dodder is very unique when it comes to parasitic plants. These guys are known as obligate parasites. So there's some parasitic plants that parasitize others, but just to help them get ahead a little bit, they don't need it. Obligate parasites need their host plants. Without their host plants, they will die. Like I said in the intro, dodder has no roots, no leaves. It cannot make its own food. Other obligate parasites might have leaves, but a lot of times they're like white. So they cannot photosynthesize because they don't have that green pigment, which is caused by the chlorophyll that would allow them to do photosynthesis. So they literally cannot make their own food. They need their host plants for their food.
Like a vampire.
Like a vampire. And dodder, and I realize I've said that like 18 times now, it's spelled D-O-D-D-E-R. It's not like daughter, like a young, like an offspring. Dodder. D-O-D-D-E-R. It's just a very unique plant. The reason it has all these weird common names like devil guts and witch's hair is because it just kind of looks like a net that's been thrown over the prairie or any grassland, not just prairies, but it's just this big net that was thrown over the grassland that is bright yellow, bright orange, and it's just a tangly, mangled mess. And it just grabs onto plants around it and holds them hostage and drains the nutrients from them.
I have so many questions, but I'm sure you're going to get into them, so.
Please, no, what questions do you have?
Okay, well, first of all, this isn't a question, but I would describe it less as a net and more like a sentient spaghetti noodle, but whatever.
Yeah.
Second, I have an actual question. How? Because like I've seen dodder before, and I've like pulled it out of plants before, and I've given it little kisses because that's what you do when you see cool plants that you like.
Yes.
I have never seen like, I don't know, tap roots digging into the goldenrod it's wrapped around or anything like that. So what is happening?
Yes, very good question. So we'll start at the beginning. You're a little dodder seed in the nice warm earth. Ooh, so cozy. Ooh, but you're getting kind of hungry. You get out of the earth, you sprout up, start growing up. As soon as you are out of the surface, you start spinning. And if you've never seen a plant, especially like beans or dodder, as they first emerge, the way that they spin in the air looking for something to grab onto is just one of my favorite things. Like time lapses of that. I could watch it all day. I don't know what it is. It's mesmerizing. But anyways, they spin these little tendrils, they grab onto a plant, they will start growing up around it, and they will actually get rid of that like root structure. It's not really a root structure, but they will disengage from the ground completely as soon as they're wrapped around that plant. Yeah. And they have these little structures called haustoria that attach to the plants and are kind of like roots, but instead of rooting into the ground, they're rooting into the plant. And those haustoria dig through the outer part of the stem of the plant and reach into the phloem. So basically like the bloodstream of the plant. And that's where they're getting all their nutrients from.
They don't even have a root system.
They do not have roots at all.
Wild.
Yeah.
I did not realize that. But I mean, I've never pulled it out of the ground, so that makes sense.
Yeah.
Fascinating. Okay.
Super cool.
What does it look like? Is it kind of like little mycelium, like fingers that come off?
Kind of, yeah. So to the naked eye, it just kind of looks like a little, like where it's touching the plant, it just kind of makes like a little like bubble right there, and you can't really see the actual structure since it's inside the plant. But when it's touching the plant, you'll just see kind of like a little mass that's like thicker than the rest of the spaghetti noodle, and that is where the haustoria are and where it's digging into the plant itself, the host plant.
Gotcha.
So yeah, super cool.
Wait, what's the spaghetti noodle that's like a little bit skinnier than a spaghetti noodle, like angelini?
Yes, like angel hair pasta or something.
That's it. Yes. Yeah.
But yeah, because they are pretty small.
Witch's hair.
Yes, witch's hair pasta. But yeah, so that's kind of how they work. Those haustoria are extremely important. That's how they feed. And something kind of unique, as they're growing, they do that funny little waving around thing with their tendrils and grow up the plant. And then they also start reaching out to neighboring plants and give them a nice big hug too. So they have... A lot of the species of dodders will have specific host plant species that they prefer, but they will latch onto nearby plants as well of different species. So they'll take over an entire like section of grassland rather than like, sticking to just sunflowers or just goldenrods, which are two of their favorite species of plants to parasitize. They will just kind of take over an area, and you'll find like this big mat of just bright orange spaghetti noodles in the grassland. It's really, really cool to see. If you haven't yet, please definitely look up a picture of this because it's just bizarre if you've never seen it before.
Absolutely fantastic. And dodder is a genus, right?
Yes. So it is a genus. There's, I think, over 200 different species of dodder in the world. Golly. So it's a pretty big genus. Yeah.
How many are there in North America? Do you know?
I don't know. I know I looked, so like Missouri, they have like 15-ish species.
Yeah.
So a lot of the like prairie states that I was getting information from had, you know, a little over a dozen. So I would imagine maybe there's 20 or so in the US, and then there's a ton in Africa, actually.
Wild. Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Hey, why don't you grab your stupid Flora of Kansas book and we'll look up and see how many there are in the Great Plains.
Flora of the Great Plains, Nicole. It's the Flora of the Great Plains.
Whatever.
Okay. Which I stole from somebody. Just kidding. They gave it to me.
Sure they did.
And then they moved to California and never came back for it. Let's see. In the Flora of the Great Plains, we have Cuscula cuspidata, glomerata, squamata, compacta, corally, cephalanthe, polygonorum, indicora, suaviolens, epithymum, umbellata, pentagona, glabrior, curia, and granovii. So that's 15 species in the Great Plains region.
Did you just hex me?
Oh my god. That reminds me of a guy I worked for once who said he would scare off like doorbell proselytizers. Like he was like in his garage one time making rappel poles, to like
oh god,
do vegetation surveys. Yeah.
I used them for water surveys.
Whatever. And just started speaking scientific names at them, and
nice.
They got out of there.
Nice. God.
Yeah, this is fun. They do, some of them have common names, and it's like named after the stuff that they parasitize, like buttonbush dodder.
Yeah.
And hazel dodder and stuff. That's fun.
There's a Lespedisa dodder.
Dodder.
It's so hard.
Fun.
And then like a field dodder. And I'm like, wow, that's really specific. Okay, and then like every time, I don't know if you're reading like really in depth on those, but like all the species accounts that I was reading online, it was like, this one is a light orange color with 5 petaled flowers that are white. And then a different species account would be like, this one is a light orange color with 5 petaled flowers. And I'm like, that's the same description, but you're talking about different species. Come on.
No.
Some dodder do have like very tiny little like scale leaves. Like they're not like really leaves and they can't photosynthesize with them, but it's just like a little.
That's fun.
Yeah.
I as hard as it is, I imagine, to be like a mycologist or somebody studying beetles where you got to whip out the microscope and look at like wing venation or whatever. I don't know how the hell you would identify a bunch of spaghetti noodles
I know.
that have no flowering structure. Or wait, do they have a flower? You made a face.
They do have flowers.
Oh,
they're very small and
Okay.
inconspicuous. A lot of them are just white, and again, they're very, very small. But they have a ton of flowers when they are flowering, and they produce a ton of seeds.
Oh boy.
So yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
How oh wow, okay, this makes up, wow, sorry, what brain words. This brings up so many weird, okay, so if they dump a bunch of seeds into the seed bank and they don't have a root structure, how would you know how many individual members, like individual plants there are in like a big mass of pasta out in a park or something?
I mean, you wouldn't really be able to tell, other than maybe, trying to do some kind of a genomic sequencing or something, which we do have the sequence of a couple different species of dodder, which is super cool. But I don't know, especially if it's a population that's close together, would their genomes even differ enough to be able to tell? Probably not. So I think you would just you'd have to like literally like peel it apart and like separate it out, which would be pretty much impossible.
Sounds like a nightmare.
Yeah.
Weird. Okay.
Mm-hmm. And there might be that maybe certain species, when they're fully mature, cover, an average of 10 square feet. So if you see like a 50 square foot mass, you're like, maybe about 5 individuals in this mass. Or maybe, I don't know. That's the best thing that I can think of. It's like rough estimates.
really rough for estimates.
Yeah.
It's a vine. Oh, man. Okay, cool.
Yeah, that's a good question. I did not think about that. And I've never really, like, whenever I've seen dodder in the wild, usually it's kind of like clumped.
Yeah, exactly.
So I just assumed it was like one individual, but maybe not. Maybe there's multiples in those clumps. So, don't know.
We possibly never will.
Yeah, good luck. But there is a lot of really cool research on dodder. We'll definitely talk about more of that in a little bit. A fun thing about those flowers and those seeds and how many there are.
Oh dear.
Not only are there just so many seeds that get produced by one dodder, those seeds can then sit in the seed bank for 20 or more years.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
Yes, this plant is very good at what it does, and part of what it does is just being inconspicuous and just hanging out until the time is right, and then it just explodes. I've seen it in managed parks where, like, I walk the trails often, and it wasn't there 1 week, and then 2 weeks later, I was like, what is that giant, massive, bright orange stuff? Wow. Like, it really just springs up overnight, it feels like sometimes. So,
yeah. And it's not an invasive species. It's a naturally occurring species.
So there are invasive species that exist. Yeah, and it is, so, dodder as a group is actually listed by the U.S. federal government as it is listed as a noxious weed. So it is very, very much controlled and very carefully monitored. Like if you're moving a crop harvest from a place where there was dodder, you have to kind of somehow by law only have like X amount of dodder seeds in it. I don't know how you would ever really prove that you have less than that or more than that. But yeah, like it is regulated highly. And usually native species are kind of given a pass, but you still don't want those native species going outside of their current native ranges. So,
right.
Yeah.
I don't know how it didn't occur to me that it would be an issue in crops.
Yes, dodder loves crops. It is a huge agricultural pest.
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah, okay.
Yes.
I mean, we get, I was going to make a chupacabra joke about it draining like sheeps of their blood and stuff. Like what's a little like barley blood drainage, but just a way to equalize the universe. But dodder is real, and
there's a lot of blood references in this podcast episode. I'm sorry if you have a thing with blood, but I won't be graphic or anything. So.
And it's not like blood.
Yeah, it's not. It's the sap inside the plant, but like the easiest way to like think about it is kind of like the bloodstream of the plant.
Yeah.
In my opinion, anyways.
Yeah. I mean, it's like way different than talking about like blood.
Yeah. You're right.
Even if it's us talking about blood in the form of a metaphor. Okay, sorry. Anyway.
Enough blood talk. Okay.
No.
For now.
Okay.
But yeah, so how do you think dodder finds host plants?
I imagine that the seeds are dropped in a location where the previous generation existed because there were host plants. I mean, that's my guess.
Yeah, that's a really good guess. Because, there's not a lot of things to eat. They don't produce berries for birds to eat them and, disperse them or anything. They literally just kind of drop their seeds wherever they are. And once that seed germinates, they have that fun wiggling thing that they do. But dodder can actually pick up the chemicals that surrounding plants around it are giving off to help it find to help it find its favorite hosts, because like I said, they can be pretty generalists when it comes to what plants that they parasitize, but a lot of the species do have hosts that they prefer. So, and the communication between dodder and host plant gets really wild.
Oh, I'm so excited. Oh, I didn't know we were going to get into the communication route. I should have known with you. But okay, I'm so here for it. If butterflies can track down host plants, why can't dodder?
Yeah.
It's basically a butterfly.
Sure, yeah.
In complexity. But not sentience, perhaps.
I mean, who knows?
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's why I said perhaps.
I think that plants, they're not intelligent in the way that we think of intelligence, but I think that there's a lot going on that goes unnoticed, and we learn more all the time about how plants communicate with each other. And if you, dear listener, did not know that plants communicate with each other, you are in for a wild ride, because yes, they do. And they have a lot to say.
Yeah. It just is happening on a different scale where it's
Yes.
harder for us to observe it. And therefore it's like out of sight, out of mind.
Yes, 100%. And there's a lot of studies for quite a long time about how like funguses and things like that help plants communicate with each other, but dodder is doing it by itself. It's not using mushrooms or funguses to help it, because it doesn't have roots. It only has its own body. So it's very different, but it's also kind of the same concept if you are familiar with how funguses help plants communicate with each other. And even though dodder is really, really good at what it does, there are some plants that have developed a way to fight back against it. So when they sense a nearby dodder plant, they can release different chemicals and acids and compounds that help them avoid detection by the parasite. So they can avoid detection altogether. This has been noted in tomato plants in particular, but it is hardly a 100% cure, and it's not always, successful, and not all tomatoes can do it. But I did find one study in particular that looked at tomato plants, and it was pretty cool. Like, they did a really good job at just completely avoiding the dodder altogether, whereas the other plants in this study just got decimated by the dodder.
Interesting.
Yeah.
It's hard for me to see how a tomato plant could avoid the dodder unless it's like an allelochemical sort of thing where it's causing some behavioral response in the dodder plant, like physiologically, that makes the dodder avoid it or something.
Yeah. And I think that's what it is. Like, they send out a bunch of different chemicals. A lot of plants will also kind of like harden their cell walls so that the dodder just can't like attach to it. So then it just moves on because it's like, that's too much work.
Oh, fascinating.
But yeah.
Ooh, that's like so cool on the cellular level.
Yes.
That there's physiological changes happening.
Yeah. Super cool. And, once a plant is attacked, they can fight back by, like I said, strengthening their cell walls, releasing toxins. So like tomato plants are highly toxic. Yeah. So they could release extra toxins, and then the dodder's like, ooh, never mind. Or even killing off the part of the plant that is being affected. Because if that part of the plant is dead, the dodder isn't getting any nutrients from it, so it's going to move on.
But why wouldn't it just move on to a different part of the plant that it hadn't cut off yet?
I mean, it's kind of a luck of the draw. Wherever that tendril starts spinning off, if it hits another part of the plant, then it's going to probably, kill off that section too, and just hope that then it accidentally touches the nearby goldenrod or whatever. So yeah, it's a risky gambit to just like kill off a part of yourself, but it can work sometimes. So, especially since these are in grasslands where everything is just kind of smushed together. So
sure, it's going to come into contact with something else really quickly.
Yeah.
I was imagining the tomato plants specifically, and it's hard to picture that. But yeah, and it's like natural condition. That makes sense. Okay.
Yeah.
Ooh, that's cool.
Yeah. I love this kind of stuff. I love plant-animal interactions, but plant-plant interactions are also very, very cool.
Yeah.
And this reaction that the host plants can have towards dodder is not unlike an immune response. And the dodder will try to also get around that response as well. So it's kind of an arms race on who can, either avoid detection, or once they're detected, get rid of the dodder, and the dodder's like, nah, I'm going to get you anyways. And it's really, really fascinating.
Wait, do plants have an immune system? They don't, right?
They don't.
Like, okay, that just like awoke this question in me that I'd never thought to ask before.
No. Yeah.
Okay.
They have responses to stimuli, but it's not like a literal immune response.
No, and they have like pheromones and allomones and stuff that they can produce, and so it's like a lot of chemical stuff.
Yes.
Chemical warfare,
yes,
perhaps.
chemical warfare.
And hormones, but that's not the same thing as having like an army of cells. That,
not like red blood cells or white blood cells coming in and beating up the dodder. Like, no, nothing that cool, but still pretty cool.
Okay, just checking.
No, it's a good question.
But how do we qualify what an immune system is? Does it have to have
like blood cells?
Yeah,
I don't know.
Just a question I'm asking. I'm not expecting you to answer it, but if anybody wants to give that to us. Give it to us. Thank you.
Yes.
That's
yes.
all.
But dodder is able to kind of overwhelm and silence this, quote unquote, immune response by overwhelming the host plant's microRNAs that code proteins that would be coming to the aid of the plant and fighting off the dodder's attack.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
So they're literally like exchanging genes as the dodder is entering, the bloodstream, the phloem of this plant.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very weird and unique interaction. And a lot of this research is like 2018, 2019, 2020. So it's all very new stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was going to say mRNA is kind of in the lexicon of the general public right now because of some of the vaccines that work that way. So
yes.
Wait, that's messenger RNA. It's not micro. It's probably the same thing though. But regardless, it's like coding for individual proteins and stuff. Yeah.
Yes.
That's cool.
Yeah. Super cool.
What is this? Okay. I'm sorry. Keep going.
I love the excitement. I love it. But yeah, this paper is a 2018 paper looking at this relationship with the microRNAs. And with these proteins that the host plant is trying to build to mount the defense. If those proteins are unable to form, the host is then defenseless. It literally has no idea what's going on. It cannot mount that attack to get rid of the dodder or to, strengthen its cells or to send toxins or anything else that might alleviate the danger of the dodder.
This is some high-level chess strategy right here. I love it so much.
It's so cool. And in this 2018 paper, I didn't write down their names, I'm so sorry. In this 2018 paper, they compared this reaction to how blood clots after a cut. So it's a fairly simple mechanism that the dodder is able to kind of get around, and it completely avoids the clotting, which allows it to feed more easily. So,
whoa.
Yeah, super cool.
Whoa.
So literally back to the blood thing. So it's sucking out all the life juices of the plant, and the plant is unable to, clot that blood or, otherwise get rid of the dodder.
Phloem clots? Is it just like
they can close off sections. So like when they close off a section of the phloem, that would be like the plant, that arm of the plant dying off and stuff like that. It's not a literal clotting. These are all metaphors.
I know, but now I'm trying to picture
yeah,
exactly how that's working.
Well, the plant will go through apoptosis, where they kill off the cells, and then that way,
yeah.
They're
but
don't need that
are
anymore.
they killing off the vascular tissue right there so that it's
I think
okay,
so.
Cool.
Yeah,
it's just stopping the seepage.
So instead of clotting, it's just I'm going to destroy it. Because that's just
self-destruction.
Yeah, that's the only way that that's the only way that plants know how to defend themselves. It's just like, okay, we just don't need that anymore.
I don't need this arm.
Yeah,
I'll grow another one.
Yeah.
I wish I could do that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't, but sure.
I mean, I imagine if it was built into your body to do that. That
I mean, if I could grow a new one, then sure.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
It's like, forget this branch. Like, the vampire can have it. I'm just going to grow a new one. Here, you take that arm. I'm going to go run away.
Yes. Oh, gosh. And all this communication that's going on between host plant and dodder is not a one-way street. There was a 2020 article called Cuscuta australis, which is an Australian dodder. Parasite eavesdrops on the host plant's signals to flower. So they're eavesdropping on not only where the plant is, but also what is going on in that plant. And they're taking in some of these signals that the plant is sending to itself and gaining information from that, which is super cool.
Okay, clarification.
Yes.
Is it looking at for example, information about the host plant and its flowering schedule, or is it adjusting its own flowering schedule according to, or is it both?
It's both.
Okay.
Yeah. So this was a really, really cool article, again, 2020, brand new stuff, that found that dodders, because they can often parasitize so many different kinds of plants, they will adjust their own life cycle to match up with their host plant's life cycle.
Wow.
So the same species can mature at different rates and start to flower at different rates depending on what host plant it is currently using.
That is very cool.
Yeah.
Whoa.
And this is helpful because, like, you know, who cares if you flower at the same time? But it is actually really helpful because if the daughter were to keep trying to parasitize the host plant after it flowered, that plant just spent a ton of resources making those flowers, a ton of resources making those seeds from the flowers. It's not going to have a lot of nutrients to spare. And then the daughter is probably going to suck that plant dry. The plant will die. The daughter will die. Not a good situation. So the daughter, by syncing up its flowering, can make sure that it's kind of peaking right with its host plant. And then if they both die off, that's okay. It's already flowered. It's already gone to seed. Life is good.
Wow.
Yeah.
I wasn't even thinking about that, like the nutrient availability within the plant. I was thinking more like, ooh, that makes sense because their seeds would germinate potentially around the same time, or they were dropped at the same time, and that could be beneficial. But like the resource allocation there, that's really, really cool.
So cool.
What is this plant?
Yeah, it's so cool because they want to germinate after their host plants.
Right.
So you want that host plant to be nice and big and strong, and then you come along and suck away all its nutrients. They germinate fairly late compared to a lot of other like grassland wildflowers and grasses and things like that. Because they want to come into the prairie or wherever after it's already green and lush and beautiful.
Plenty of food.
Yes, yes. And they also mentioned that they don't want to flower too early either, since you want to have as much growth as possible so that you can draw as much nutrients as possible to make the most seeds. So they want the daughter itself, or if you were a daughter plant, you would want to grow up as big and strong as you can yourself, so mature as long as possible, so that, you know, you can produce more seeds. So I thought that was really cool. Like, they really do time it very closely to its host plant flowering.
Cool. Are they wind pollinated or are they insect pollinated?
They are insect pollinated, so having those flowers bloom at the same time as the more showy flowers of your host plant is also kind of nice, because now they're being attracted to the host plant flowers and then also coming to the daughter's flowers. So
brilliant.
Yeah. That paper didn't even mention that.
Ooh. Oh. This is why science is a group project.
Yes, yes.
That's so cool. I bet they use a lot of chemical signals to bring insects over to them too.
Probably, yeah. So let's look at some more kind of big picture things with dodder. I mentioned already that it is an agricultural pest. So what are some other ways that it kind of affects the environment around it? And not every effect that it has on the environment is a negative one. So dodder wants its host plants to succeed. If the host plant dies, dodder dies. And one way that they can kind of help those host plants is that the dodder plant itself kind of acts like an information highway.
Oh my God, it's like a fungus.
Yes.
Ooh, this is so cool. Wait,
yeah.
I'm going to tell Lindsay about this.
It's just like the funguses that we're more used to and all that stuff that's going on underground, but this is, you know, above ground in the vegetation, and it's running through the dodder, which is super cool. Like, I've never heard of dodder being talked about in this way before.
Okay, give me all the information.
Yes. So dodder's connection to its host plant will provide it with food. But we already know that it can also talk to its host plant this way. But we have found out that if, you know, plant A gets attacked by an insect, it is connected through a bunch of dodder to plants B, C, D, E, F. All of those other plants will start to have a response and prepare for those insects that are attacking plant A, because that information is traveling through the dodder to those other plants. So just wild. And it's kind of hard to even like wrap your brain around.
Is the information like proteins and hormones? Is it like mRNA or microRNA? Is it like what parts, what types biologically of information are being transmitted?
I think that it's mostly going to be like stress hormones.
Right.
So this happens just like with fungus. When a plant is under attack from especially like things like insects, they will freak out, and they tell other parts of the plant its own body to, you know, harden and prepare for this insect, but it's also sending out signals to the nearby plants, kind of on accident, maybe on purpose, kind of hard to say, but yeah. And it can travel through the dodder. And this particular study was done, you know, in a controlled lab experiment, so they know that it wasn't like funguses and stuff like that actually spreading it. It was 100% the dodder that was spreading that information. So
okay. I want you to know the visual that I have in my head of what this is doing is that it's like, I don't know, like a bunch of, like, you know, those cans they always make in movies but they never work in real life, where like, they're connected through the windows through wires, or strings or whatever. I'm picturing that, but it's just like all of the plants in the neighborhood screaming at each other, so they have like some solidarity in their pain and suffering.
Perfect.
Which I don't know what the benefit is, because it's like, well, if it's being transmitted through the dodder, then the dodder's already here. So maybe it's comforting to the plants. We don't know. We can't prove it's not.
Well, in the case of like insects, that's a different kind of stressor.
Well,
so,
yeah, but the dodder.
The dodder wants everybody else to survive, so it's you know, it's facilitating this communication.
Yeah, it's like, listen, guys. Shirley over here has been through this for longer than the rest of you. Just listen to what she has to say. She'll let you know that it's not as bad as it seems. Does she sound stressed? Yes, but look, she's alive.
Yes.
Is this what is happening?
Very toxic relationship.
I mean, it's a parasite, so yes, I think that is literally like a toxic relationship.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh gosh.
No, but really, like, what benefit does that give the dodder?
Well, it's allowing like, if plant A dies because of this insect attack, it doesn't want all of the other plants in that network that it's feeding off of to die. It's benefiting by letting the other plants know that this herbivory is coming, so that they can start to either produce toxins, you know, strengthen their cell walls, all those defenses that we talked about that they use against the dodder, they can also use against insects as well.
I think that's what's tripping me up, because it's like, okay, yeah, maybe that would help it against an insect attack, but wouldn't that also be sabotaging the dodder's ability to like prey upon it?
Well, the dodder's already in the plant, so there's not really any removing it once it's attached.
Yeah. So it can only benefit from getting the plants more defenses once it's tapped into its like vascular system.
Yeah.
Oh God, I don't like this at all. This is so weird. It's tripping me out a little bit now that I'm like fully comprehending what is happening. So it's even worse. It's like if the tin cans you're screaming into were like IV drips.
Oh gosh. I mean, yeah, I guess so. And the person allowing you to talk to your cellmates was also torturing you.
Yeah, and it's like, hey guys, I know we're all infected with this dodder, but there's something worse coming. And the daughter's like, see, I'm not the bad guy.
Yes.
Oh God.
Oh gosh. That's perfect.
Sorry, please cut this out. But I just wanted to say that my initial reaction was like, dear God, this would make a fantastic horror movie. Maybe a tabletop RPG.
Yes.
Okay.
I think it'd be a cool enemy.
Yeah.
Well, okay. And then something that kind of weirded me out when I was doing this research, I 100% think this is not true, but I just thought about it for too long. Yeah. Kind of like how we're thinking about too long about this whole like thing. But there was a research article that mentioned sometimes once they're searching for a new host plant, they already are established, they're not in the ground anymore, they'll wrap around things that like a bamboo cane that it's not alive. There's nothing that it could possibly get from it, but it tries to pierce it with its haustoria. So it's still trying to tap into it. But also the dodder can locate host plants by like sniffing them out essentially. So it's like, how is it getting confused? And then they mentioned that maybe since the dodder had already grabbed a host plant, it's just assuming that anything it touches is something that it can eat. So then I was like, what if you just like put your finger in a bunch of dodder for like a really long time? Would it attach to you?
Could it tap into your bloodstream if it did? I mean, you have to sit in a field without moving your
For
finger
a
for a
long
long time.
This is like a torture thing. Like the whole like growing like bamboo through people. Like you'd have to like tie someone down in the middle of a bunch of dodder.
Nicole, don't give the U.S. Army any ideas. They've already done some really crazy experiments about that kind of stuff.
I know.
We don't need people researching if they can use dodder as a torture device.
You're right. And I looked it up and Google was very confused by my questions, so I didn't get any answers. But that just kind of weirded me out. Because I mean it's a plant, it doesn't move very fast. But like, would it? If it taps into bamboo cane, why would it not tap into like a finger or an arm?
Well, I mean, it could probably tell the difference in like the cellular structure, right? But like, it's not okay. Yeah, this is tripping me out now. Do we know any dodder scientists? Like, I think this is the sort of situation where you just need to like cold email or cold call somebody who wrote one of those papers and just be like, hey, I got a weird dodder question for you. Can you entertain it? Like, people love shit like that. Let's tweet one.
Okay. I'll find the one that mentioned what I was talking about, how it wrapped around the bamboo cane. I'll be like, so if it wraps around bamboo cane, can it wrap around a finger?
Maybe we should just tweet them from our Grasslands Rule account for GG. I think that's better than...
Okay.
Yeah, thanks.
Assuming that they have a Twitter. But anyways, I don't know. It just really weirded me out. I thought about it for too long. And then I just kind of sat in front of the computer for like 5 minutes. And I was like, does this make sense? I don't know.
Does any of it make sense? It never makes sense until it does.
Yeah. And we learn new things all the time, so...
Yeah. That was a really elaborate way to say that we don't know anything.
Maybe, conspiracy time, maybe the reason why I couldn't find any information on it is because it is currently used by the military to torture people, and they scrubbed all proof of it from the internet.
I'm going to go ahead and say that that's not true. I don't want the military industrial complex coming after us, but I have a feeling that the only value most grassland related things have seen for the military is like as bomb testing sites.
You're not wrong.
Yeah.
I don't really know how to get back on track, but essentially we were talking about dodder's effect on its environment, so that's where we're going.
Okay.
We talked about the good things it does with the network, but like it's good. It's not an altruistic good. It's a if you die, I die. So, you know,
we're in this together.
Yeah. So, but anyways, it does a lot of really bad stuff too. This network of communication also spreads a lot of different diseases.
Oh no.
So this is especially important when we're talking about like crop plants. If you have dodder and one of the plants gets sick, it's just going to travel through the dodder and get all of them sick, which is unfortunate.
That checks out though.
Yeah, it makes sense. So this, along with its ability to drain plants of their nutrients, causes millions, though some websites said billions, of dollars of damage each year to the agriculture industry.
That sucks.
Yeah, and that's throughout the world, especially like I mentioned earlier, Africa has a lot of different species of dodder, and they have a lot of damage from the dodder as well. Even though they try not to kill the host plant, the crop yield is going to be less because of the loss of nutrients that the dodder is, sucking from it.
Sure, yeah.
And dodder can infest a lot of different kinds of plants. They can infest asparagus, beets, carrots, eggplants, garlic, melons, onion, pepper, tomato, potatoes, fennels, mint,
potatoes,
petunias, clover, sunflower, goldenrod, and many other crop, ornamental, and wild plants. They infest a lot of things. And do a lot of damage when they do. And while it is not considered poisonous, there have been multiple cases of like horses and cattle, and I'm assuming sheep, that fall ill after eating a substantial amount of dodder. So, exciting.
Wait, is dodder toxic?
It is not considered toxic, but sometimes if they eat enough of it, they can still get sick.
Well, maybe they should stop eating things that make them sick. Just a suggestion.
I mean,
livestock.
Not wrong. But yeah, the livestock will experience like colicky symptoms. So it's not something that's like deadly necessarily.
Yeah.
But it's just not fun.
Sure.
Yeah.
So not the worst pasture pest.
Yeah.
But not great.
Mm-hmm. Like I said, dodder is also listed as a federal noxious weed in the U.S., and control of it is extremely difficult. Because once it is established, hand pulling or cutting of the affected areas are going to be the most effective ways to do so. And if you have a lot of it, that is extremely time consuming. Fire can work, but if the fire is not hot enough, then the seeds especially will be unaffected and it'll just come back next year. And the seeds are extremely, extremely tough. In dodder, like I said, they can survive 20 years underground. They can survive tilling. They can survive like all the work that we do to, farm land. And then if that dirt is carried off somewhere else, good way to spread it. And the haustoria, the little attachment points on the host plant, if they are not all removed, so if you just try to like yank it out of the prairie and you leave the haustoria, it can regrow from that like one attachment point.
Okay, yeah, that was my question. Like, if you leave like a piece of the spaghetti noodle,
Yes.
is it going to just grow right back?
Yep, it sure will.
Okay, kind of figured because it has no root system that it's using to centrally do stuff. But yeah, okay.
This is a silly side note, but another name for dodder was like love plant or like love string or something like that.
Because it hugs everybody?
Maybe, but also because there's these really fun like 1800s old wives' tales where, a maiden would go out into the field. She's thinking of her lover. She grabs a piece of dodder. She throws it over her shoulder, walks away. You come back a few days later. If that piece of dodder has grown, then your love is true.
Oh my God. Don't tell the people that they're going to start spreading dodder.
I mean, it has no basis in science. Please don't spread dodder. But
it's cute and it's very Instagram worthy.
It's very cute. I mean, if you're in a place where there's already dodder, like, does it really matter if it moves 3 feet that way? Probably not.
Yeah, okay. That's fair.
But yeah, I just thought that was like kind of a cute story. Because
I kind of love that.
Yeah. Well, because like you said, you leave even a little bit of that spaghetti noodle in there, and like the spaghetti noodle, when it touches the host plant, it's like, okay, and it just grows a new haustoria.
Yeah.
So like, I mean, that's how they spread. Like, you have to be really careful when you're removing it from a field, because even a little bit left behind and it's just going to come back. Yeah. So,
and if you're in a field or a grassland or a pasture or whatever, you're not throwing that anywhere and it not hitting a plant,
No,
like,
yeah,
it's just so it's not going to hit the ground.
No, it's not.
Oh man.
But yeah, just kind of a fun little story that I found.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
Oh.
But parasites, love them or hate them, they are quite fascinating. And the delicate dance of parasite and host plant is just really, really cool, and I love it a lot. And as humans learn more and more about dodder, maybe one day we'll figure out how to control it so it doesn't take over everything. And hopefully we can keep our crops safe from these pesky pests.
Pesky pests. Yeah. And, since it's spooky season, I just want to point out that I have gone on foraging missions for some of my friends who make, like, little spell jars and stuff before.
Get some dodder.
I have seen dodder. Yeah, it's on the lists of things that people like to use for those sorts of things. So, I don't know if you find that little, like, romantic story or just the concept of witches' shoelaces or whatever to be, like, a fun thing. It's a totally harmless plant to just collect and touch and remove and I don't know, give smooches.
It probably won't attach to your finger and suck your life energy. Who knows?
We can't guarantee it though. Whoa. I just got like a crazy idea. What if you like brought some in and attached it to a house plant and then you could like keep a dodder like as a house plant?
Yeah.
Do you think that would work?
I mean, yeah, I don't see why not. Unless it was like something that was like had a lot of toxins in it that could, combat the dodder.
Sure. But like a pothos or something. If I've got like an extra cutting of a pothos.
Oh my God. Like a pothos that's like 50 feet long. You just put a dodder on there. And
string it along oh my God. And then like you could like get like a whole like lattice work of like all those dodder tendrils looking for new pieces to host.
Yes.
God.
The perfect spooky.
I'm doing it.
Oh my God.
I want it.
Please.
My neighbor in her pristine yard would be so mad if I put it outside too. But like, imagine.
Oh my gosh. Amazing.
Okay. Thanks, Nicole.
You're so welcome.
What a perfect episode. Wow. Now I need to rethink my next episode because I'm so here for these spooky vibes, and that was such a fun spooky thing. A few days ago I asked Nicole, like, so is it spooky in the creepy crawly people are traditionally scared of it sense, or is it spooky in like a climate change world ending apocalypse sense? And she was like, neither of those things. And I genuinely couldn't think of any other options besides parasites. And I did not even think that plants were an option on that list. So that was great.
Plants are always an option.
Yeah, you're right.
Full disclosure, there are a couple like foresty daughters and like wetland daughters, but for the most part they like grasslands. So
yeah, that counts. Thank you for listening, people who aren't Nicole. The Best Biome is produced through our nonprofit Grassland Groupies, dedicated to inspiring the conservation of grasslands. In the show notes, you can find our website, phone number, social media, etc. So text, call, or tweet your suggestions, your fan mail, or your hate mail. If you enjoyed the show and want to support us, tell your friends about us and leave a review on Podchaser or Apple Podcasts, or find a way to support our nonprofit in whatever way works for you. And we couldn't do this without your support. So thank you for anything you do to support us, including just listening. So you're doing it. Great job, and thank you.
But also definitely share with a friend.
Oh, yeah.
Everything's better together.
We'll see you again in a couple of weeks. Bye.
The more one learns, the more you wonder if plants are the true enemy.